Welcome to the Sounds Obtuse Podcast, the only podcast so nice we had to record it twice. With me is my co-host Dylan. I'm Chris. What's up, buddy?
How you doing, brother?
Doing a podcast here.
So I've heard.
Yeah, you're part of it.
I am.
Here,
it's fantastic.
Here we are. Podcast numero uno. How you feel about that?
You know, I'm freaking excited. Gotta be honest about it. I'm ready to do this. I am so amped right now. I am buzzing with anticipation.
My heart's kind of pounding out of my chest. Very similar feeling. I feel like I've had this before.
Possibly once or twice we felt this. But you know what? I feel it again, and I am gonna Jones off of it.
All right. So, this is indeed our first podcast that we're publishing out to the public.
It is.
And we got a good one for you today.
Such a good one.
It's kind of heavy, but I think it's worthy talking about this month. Yeah,
so we're going to be talking about 9/11, and we're going to try to focus on kind of like what we experienced personally, our own personal stories, because I think that kind of always gets lost up in the narrative, and we don't really think about that whenever we look back on it. So I think we're going to do that, and then we're also going to talk about some broader theme that we kind of noticed ourselves, even as kids.
Yeah, it was 20 years ago at this point.
It is
20 plus
20 years.
At the time of recording. It was a national tragedy, a day that I don't think either of us will ever forget.
Certainly not.
And you'll definitely hear about our personal accounts later in the episode. But we kind of just wanted to, introduce ourselves first, talk about the podcast itself, and maybe kind of get into our experiences so far. Would you say?
Oh yeah, and it's been a lot. It's been a great time. It's been frustrating at times, but it's I don't know. It's here and it feels great.
Yeah, hopefully the audio quality is great. Hopefully your guys' ears aren't falling off the bone, anything like that.
Yeah. It's been a rocky road trying to figure out.
It is. There's lots
pesky
of
volume, man.
Lots of hoops, lots of volumes.
Goodness gracious.
Cuts and so many different headaches that props to those who got their shit together. Let me say that.
I have profound respect for any podcast that I listen, even podcasts that I listen to almost as a joke because they're just not that great. Even those, I'm like, boys, you're doing it. You at least got it together that much.
They are fucking doing it. They're not just doing it; they did it.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So they're a step ahead of us. We're playing catch up right now.
But we are playing.
We are playing. That is true. And new challengers entered the field. I think a basic goal of 15 episodes at the very least.
Oh yeah.
I think we can make it to 15. If we can't make it to 15, we don't belong here.
No. I mean, 15 episodes. I don't want to stop at 15. We're fucking going.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We're gonna go the distance.
Yeah, I don't think there's a cap on this. I will say, as a musician, if this thing goes all Salmon Cat, I gotta get my Ariana Grande on.
You know what? I get it.
You understand?
I get it. I'm probably gonna have to do my own thing.
It's I might marry some guy and then just be like, oh, sorry, and then just paint myself brown and go on the cover of Vogue.
That you're really doing it.
Yeah.
You already have this figured out.
That's the backup plan, of course.
I see.
So yeah, if this thing doesn't work or if it really takes off, we'll see what happens. But for the time being, we got a podcast to do.
We do have a podcast to do.
Who is this podcast brought to you by?
This podcast unofficially, Barefoot on tap, red sangria
in the box.
It's so good. Oh my god! It basically sparked this podcast. I mean, it honestly sort of we were just kind of vibing, playing some Catan, drinking some red sangria, and it sort of sparked something in us. It was sort of like a taste of inspiration.
You know how those things go.
It just awoke it in us.
Except we did it. We're here. This is the product of that.
Yes. Thank you, Barefoot Red Sangria.
The best value. You get 4 bottles for the price of 2.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. Barefoot Red Sangria in the box.
All right. Any more news that you want to get into. I do have some actually breaking news right now.
Do you? Well, please. Oh my
Breaking
God.
news.
Breaking news across the desk.
So our first guest has decided to pass for the evening.
Wow. Bummer.
I know. But you wouldn't see him till next week anyway. So
Yeah.
it's good. It's
all
fine.
right.
No big deal. We can reschedule. Just right now, you won't be able to look forward to that. And I hope he hears this.
Yeah.
And
shame him.
Shame. Yes. Shame on you, Joseph.
Oh, yeah. We're gonna point him out whenever he actually does come on.
Yep. And you will hear from that soon enough. But we have this episode going down today. Any last bit of, things you just kind of wanted to address maybe beforehand?
Not so much about the pod, but I think there is some stuff going on. I don't know if you've seen the situation over in China.
Oh, I was talking about Anderson Cooper, but go on.
Anderson Cooper. No, I have not seen that
What
one.
was it, Wolf Blitzer, the Situation Room?
Oh.
Am I confusing my anchors?
You are.
They're both white guys to me. It's hard to tell them apart.
Fair enough. So, over in China, they got this company, Evergrande, something like that. Evergrande. I'm gonna say Evergrande.
Is this the same people who had the ship in the canal?
It's not. That was Evergiven. But
Close enough.
it is remarkably close. But apparently, this tremendous company is really big. I don't know why. I don't know all the facts about it, obviously, but it's just about to tank. And China basically just said, this is right before I walked over here. China said, brace for impact, essentially, coming from the Chinese Communist Party, telling us they're basically not going to bail them out. And so hopefully that's not the end of the world.
They better start hoarding some sugar, huh?
I mean, start toilet paper. I know, working in retail, get that TP right now. Get it.
Yeah, you probably want to do that. So this is gonna affect us as well. You said
it's possible. I am no authority on this.
This just happened.
This just happened. I just kind of
learned
about it. I was watching a bunch of news about it before I came over. I was doing a bunch of Reddit research, which is the best research. We got a crack team over on our news on it. They are.
If the neckbeards don't know, nobody knows.
No one knows. They are trolling away, trying to shake out every little morsel of resource out of it. No, it just seems like, if this humongous company, which is a real estate company, if it does indeed go bankrupt and it does indeed fail, it's gonna affect China very adversely. And China is the second largest economy in the world. So if China goes pretty hard into a recession or, God forbid, a depression, it will affect a lot of people. No one's not going to feel it. Now, it doesn't mean panic. It doesn't mean our society's going to collapse. It doesn't mean 2008 all over again, I hope. But you are going to see it in some ways. And so it is something to be looking out for.
Think the price of wood will go back down?
Probably not. It's probably going to get much worse. I don't know why, but it probably will.
From what I saw on the crack team at TikTok.
Oh, okay. They do great reporting.
There was a guy who sees this stuff every day, allegedly, according to him, and he said these companies are buying it, but they're not selling it. They're making an artificial shortage.
That sounds like something they would say.
Kind of like the diamonds, you know?
Everything, basically. Toilet paper. I'm sure they said that about that.
Probably.
But yeah, so, and also, this is rapidly developing, as in, I heard about this earlier today for the first time, and, it has escalated rapidly since then. So it's going to probably be way different by the time anyone even hears this. So this is going to be fun.
Has it affected Bitcoin yet?
I don't think so. So hang on. Here's a fun little game we can play real quick. So do you think by the time this podcast is actually available to the public, will society be collapsing around us or not?
Ooh, I'm going to say no, because I want to get at least one more podcast out.
You know what? I always say that I'm an optimist, and I'm going to stand by. I'm going to say we haven't collapsed, but find out.
Not our society, anyway.
Probably not, and hopefully not theirs. China, we're rooting for you. At least I am. I know a lot of people hate you.
I ordered some bad stuff from Wish, so I'm kind of on the fence.
Horrible depression to the world's largest country by population. I really don't want to see that. There's probably there's definitely a lot of really great people over in China, and I kind of don't want them to have to go through a bunch of bullshit.
Allegedly.
There is good people in China. Oh God! What else did you have? You had something.
I'll take your word for it. You know, I know we discussed this off the air, but it's football season. And Madden is as shitty as ever. I feel like it was worth
Yes, it
mentioning.
is. First-hand account. Yes, it is.
Like it's just dog shit. It's horrible. Tom Brady taunts faster than he runs. Need I say more?
Not the taunt, the slide.
No. Like him like taunting. Like,
Oh, really?
Like you know, like shuffling the ball like he's like celebrating in the end zone is faster than him actually like
That's fun.
sprinting.
That's fun.
Because the animations are less realistic than the actual physics in the game.
That's cute.
Yeah, so Madden sucks. Don't spend your money.
It's a simulator which has no basis in reality. So how about that?
Yeah.
How
it's
about
terrible.
that?
So I just wanted to just to shit on Madden a little bit. So maybe the people over at EA will listen to this and maybe take some constructive criticism.
Yeah.
Maybe all shit together.
Yeah.
That's a really big thing I wanted.
Would you want Madden sponsorship?
I wouldn't accept it.
No.
I seriously wouldn't, because I'm a man who believes in what they support, like barefoot red sand green from the box.
In the box.
But I would not encourage anybody to spend money on Madden NFL
Wow.
or the NFL. This
Strong words coming here from Christian.
I love football. I love the sport. I do not like terrible video games.
Fair
I
enough.
guess what it comes down to.
That's fair. All right.
So yeah, I think with all that out the way, we're going to get into 9/11. You guys know the deal. Al Qaeda did like 4 attacks that day. The big one was on the 2 main twin towers. There was a Flight 93 crash in Pennsylvania.
It did.
We had one hit the Pentagon. Building 7 went down. Bin Laden did it. I think we come to terms with that. He's dead. We killed him. Thanks, Obama. He did it for several reasons. Support of Israel, U.S. troops were all up in his shit, Iraqi sanctions, etc., etc. A lot of shit went down that day. Lot of stuff. And there was a lot of aftermath as well, including economic global recessions, much like you were kind of just talking about with China. But this was on a larger scale because the whole fucking World Trade Center collapsed.
Yeah,
after
it was
2 planes hit
It was
it.
a pretty rough day for trade.
Yeah, it was a tough time.
You can imagine.
Real tough time.
It's just a rough day for everybody, though.
In addition to, global recession, there was like a lot of different laws passed, like, the Patriot Acts and TSAs and that sort of stuff. Tons of fatalities, lots of that. But I think the biggest thing, what we really want to focus on now, aside from the war on terror, which obviously happened and recently ended, I guess you want to say?
I mean, no, the war on terror is actually sadly still ongoing.
Okay,
The war in
okay.
Afghanistan is over.
2 totally different things.
It is, yeah.
The more you know. So in addition to, a bunch of terrible things happening around the world, Guantanamo Bay opened.
Right.
But we really want to focus today on a lot of the hate that has grown
Yeah.
for the Muslim people.
That's fair. There is so much hate, and
But I think we should talk about our personal 9/11 stories first.
yeah, I think you nailed it. And yeah, I think I do want to start with our own personal story. And yeah, so if you want, I'll go first.
Please do.
So yeah, it was. I was in first grade. It was Miss Blackwell's class, and obviously the school year had just kind of started, and everything just sort of got really weird. Teachers went out into the hallway, and then they came back in, and the TVs came on, and suddenly we were all watching TV, and there was just like smoke and fire and buildings and running people all over TV, and we didn't know what was going on, and the teachers kept getting called into the hallways, and next thing we know, we're all going home. Middle of the school day. It's like 9 o'clock. We're headed home. We're out of there. I'm walking back into my house. It's like 9 something. I know it was before 10 because there was still 2 towers on TV. That's a vivid memory of mine. Was I got home and there was still the 2 towers smoldering. And it was just a very bizarre day. It was like, I don't know. I don't really know how to describe it other than just to say, if like for me, it just seemed like, what's going on?
Undescribable.
And it seemed like nobody would tell me, not that I would understand.
But they didn't know either, I think.
Well, I mean that's also, yes, that's true, and you know what, that's very true. But I I felt kind of lost that day. But then I remember like going home, and it's like the memories I have of 9/11 stop after I get home, because I went home and I forgot about it. I mean, I didn't forget about it, but it was less of a thing, because I was like, well, I'm gonna go hang out with my buddies and stuff and play in the yard and do other stuff. You know, like this is just news. This is just news, right? I mean, news is just news is just the thing that comes on.
Stuff that old people watch that is boring.
Yeah, my world was my room in my backyard. But, I mean, for the most part, like, my actual 9/11 story, I mean, that's it. I mean, I was first grader. I was, like, 6, 7 years old, maybe. Probably 6. And, yeah, I mean, just a weird, scary day. Yeah.
It was a weird, scary day. Because kind of like we were saying, it's like you didn't have any answers. And that's, like, one of the first times where, like, people seem to be really concerned about shit that, like, especially as a kid, like, for your parents to not have any answers. Or your teachers, for that matter. You're like, whoa, that's like, it's world shattering in a way, on many levels. For me, and my brother, who's actually in studio, was around the same time. You know, he is my kin. I was in 4th grade at the time. I had Miss Williams. She was a history teacher primarily, but you know, in elementary they teach everything. So Miss Williams, we're on the East Coast now. So we're at the same time as New York, and Miss Williams was uncharacteristically going in and out of the classroom from like about 10 o'clock, something like that, 9, whatever, shortly after the announcements, if I recall correctly, which was at 8 o'clock.
Probably would have started like right around like 9-ish when they started like really getting word that something weird was happening.
Like I said, we got there at 8. By 8:20, we're like starting our classes. By 8:30, things are like in stride. You know, for whatever you're learning that day. So yeah, about 9 o'clock, she was just constantly going in and out. And first you're thinking like, oh, maybe she just like, you know, drank a lot of coffee, gotta take a pee, you know, what it may be. But then you'd see her talking in the doorways with others, you know, kind of relaying information. But again, that's all we knew at the time. So the whole day goes by from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And, you know, we know nothing essentially.
Did the TVs ever come on?
Not at all.
That's crazy. And you never went home?
No.
I don't know where were you? You were at school in Virginia?
Yes, never went home. We're like essentially like miles from the shipyard, which, you know,
it's insane.
You think like the World Trade Center gets attacked, the biggest shipbuilding in the fucking United States would be, you know, a pretty good suspect target.
Yeah.
If, you know, things are going down.
Especially if you don't know that it's not a target like we do in hindsight. Like, it seems like a pretty logical. I mean, everything seemed like a logical target. Mm-hmm. So yeah, like that's just crazy to me that they didn't send you home and that the TVs never even came on.
Nope.
Now I don't know if that speaks more highly of your school or mine.
Yeah,
I don't know which one's right, and I don't know like what what strategic value it served sending us home.
Yeah, especially
I don't know if parents just wanted to be.
You guys get home, you know, before we did.
I'm pretty sure that the parents all came and got us, and if you couldn't like the bus, they couldn't get all the bus drivers back in the middle of the day, but they got like enough bus drivers to take kids who couldn't get rides home.
Yeah, I think that's mostly what the teacher was talking about. We're like, you know, like are we sending these kids home or not? You know, because like the lesson plan was, you know, interrupted by her leaving, but other than that, the day went by as normal. You know, got on the bus. Outside of school, nobody knew a thing. Get home, you know.
So your morning your 9/11 probably seems way more normal than mine.
Essentially, because like it was.
You didn't really know what was going on till the end. No. Like the evening news is when you really found out about it.
So it was a normal day, and 4 p.m. you get off the bus, you rush home to watch Pokemon.
Of course you do.
You know,
of course you do.
Pokemon comes on at 4 o'clock. If you're lucky, you can catch the intro. But usually by 4 or 5, somewhere during the first commercial break, you don't miss much, you know?
Right.
And you get home that day, and parents knew what the fuck was up. It's like, you just go for it. And then at that time, fucking news is on. You know, you see these two buildings there, and they go, oh, what's happening? It was the first time I learned the word terrorist, you know?
Same.
And that was just like kind of weird. It's like, damn, like that shit's crazy. Like there's people who don't live like us and they hate us for it. And, you know, after that, you're right. It was just like, well, time to go be a kid. If I can't watch Pokemon, I'm going to go hang out with my friends. And of course, just about that same time, they all came to the same conclusion. We all went outside. You know, this is before phones. We kind of congregated in the intersection, rode our Razor scooters, our friend Drew ate some sardines out of a can. We said, yeah, this shit's crazy out there. Then we hung out for a little bit, got tired, came back inside, went to bed. That was about it. Went to school the next day, et cetera, blah, blah, blah.
It's 9/11 through a first and third grader's eyes.
Yep, fourth grader.
Fourth grader, sorry.
Yeah.
First and fourth grade eyes.
Yep. And I was like, Mom, do I have to go to school the next day? And she was like, yeah, but then my brother got to stay home. I was like, it's bullshit. It's fucking bullshit. Because he was closer to, like, you know, more targeted areas, potentially. But yeah, after all that, there was a lot of stuff that went down, still going on to this day, in fact. But you guys probably heard enough about that over this past month. We're going to talk about the effects that it actually had on the Muslim people.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing for us to highlight. I mean, I don't want to speak like too cavalierly about 9/11. Like, it's a terrible event. It's tragic. As a single event, it's horrific. And we know it's horrific. And we've talked about that a lot, you know. Like, not just us, but we as a nation talk about that every year. On the same day, we talk about it.
I hate when they use the word anniversary. It's like, ugh.
And I hate the catchy phrase, like, where were you? And never forget. Where were you? Yeah, fucking Alan Jackson, where were you? And the fucking never forget. Never forget. I was 1 year.
I almost said it earlier. I don't even want to say it.
I was in first grade. I'm never going to forget. You don't have to tell me.
Yeah.
Who are you worried is gonna forget?
Like,
this?
who are these like rude ass Alzheimer's patients? They're just like, you know, forgetting all about 9/11.
Just storming in a freaking.
We gotta kick their ass. Like,
do you go kick down nursing home doors and shake these poor elderly people?
Do you remember 9/11?
Remember?
Like fucking Batman and the Joker, you know? It's like, tell me about 9/11.
Chill out. We remember it. It was horrific. We know it was horrific. And Flight 93, heroes. Like what else do you want to say? All the firefighters and
Nicolas Cage wasn't he in that movie?
We're not going to talk about Nicolas Cage. We're going to talk about the firefighters, the policemen, the first responders. It's a story of great loss and
great heroism.
And America on that day doing their best to overcome it as a community. We want to talk about some of the lasting effects. That's what we're going to talk about. So we don't want to speak too cavalierly. We know it was a horrific event, but now we're going to talk about something we think needs to be highlighted. So, yes, we're talking about the way that it has affected the Muslim citizens of this country, Muslims around the world, and also people who are mistaken for Muslims, which is incredibly sad that has to be part of it. But Chris, I believe you have a couple of stats to get us rolling here.
Yeah, so I do. So, in the wake of the aftermath of 9/11, there was a lot of hate crimes. We're talking like racial profiling, like at all-time highs. In May 2002, there was 20% of I want to say wasn't Muslims experienced discrimination?
Yes,
specifically Muslims.
It was Muslims, or because it was polled like from a mosque. It was a Muslim community that did so it was strictly Muslims.
So in addition to that, by July of that same year, 48% of Muslims said their lives were worse off because of this tragedy, and then the amount who experienced discrimination went up 57%. That's almost 3 times the amount in like less than 2 months.
Can I add a few more?
Please do.
So we also have, you have the FBI reported that in Chicago, in the 3 months after 9/11, 51 cases of hate crimes versus 4 the entire previous year. So in the 3 months after 9/11, you have 51 cases versus 4 for the entire previous year. In LA, it was 188 in 2001, obviously most of them happening after 9/11. Versus 12 in all of the previous year. And in Florida, the Attorney General himself attributed a 24.5 increase in hate crimes that year to backlash from 9/11.
Wow. You know, in addition to that, we had like tens of thousands flee to Pakistan because of this whole thing.
From Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people from Afghanistan fled because they understood what was going to be coming for their country.
Yeah, in addition to that, 38 million displaced.
Yes,
Like,
that
totally
number is heartbreaking.
insane.
Like just like we see it usually as like people had to move. It's not people had to move. People had to leave everything and go somewhere and hit the restart button in a place they were unfamiliar with. Like that's not the same as just moving.
But on the upside, 26.7 million did return home, but still not enough return home.
I mean, that's still pausing you're putting your entire life on hold. If you have jobs, you have a career, you have a farm. Is that farm going to be there when you get back? You don't freaking know. Probably not. Probably not. If the Taliban has anything to freaking say about it.
Yeah, they'll take a helicopter, they'll take a farm, they don't care.
In the same vein, I mean, it's important to point out that a lot of the hate crime, I mean, obviously not all of the hate crimes, but a lot of the hate crimes were targeted towards women, Muslim women, because Muslim women sometimes wear the hijab or the niqab, and that makes them very obvious targets. I guess people can't really tell the difference between Muslim men and other men in Western countries, but Muslim women, they are happy to find something that makes them stand out and exploit that.
I hate to use this term, but I feel like it's almost as if you are ignorant enough to consider a wrap of the head a towel and just throw out the towel headline to anyone who's slightly dark-skinned. That's kind of what we're talking about here.
Yeah. So I mean, Muslim women, obviously the hijab for many of them is a symbol of their faith. It's a symbol of liberation, and they want to wear it, and they were absolutely penalized for it by populaces in the West who saw it as an opportunity to single them out. And I just can't imagine being someone who came to a country being told that we have the freedom of religion, and then being absolutely demonized because of your faith and because of the stuff that you wear in regards to your faith, and just having to choose, having to wake up and choose, am I going to abide by my faith and wear this thing that I know I should be wearing, or am I going to choose to stay safe today and maybe not get jumped?
It's a pretty harsh contrast for what this country was founded on, I'd say.
Yeah. That's more of what I like. 9/11 was a chance for us to sort of disregard some of our values. In the aftermath of it, I feel, just my personal opinion, we kind of got it was we kind of knee jerks. We knee jerks.
Some people took advantage of an unfortunate situation.
Oh yeah, and a lot of people took it
lightly.
A lot of people took it as a chance to just be hateful. I mean, the term hijab snatching became a thing.
Yeah, we used to just yaga broads weaves, but then we were just taking off hijabs.
How awful.
Both of them, by the way.
I did have... Can I read one little story real quick?
Of course.
So, this is... I always hear about this magical day where everybody in America was united, and that's the day that, even though nobody ever wants a terrorist attack to happen again, everybody always talks about how they wish we could just be united like we were that day. So, here's a little story from that day. Faiza Ejaz, a Pakistani woman, waited for her husband outside a mall in Huntington, New York on September 12th, 2001. According to press reports, Adam Lang, a 17-year-old, drove his car towards her. At the last minute, she was able to jump out of the way, fleeing. He sped towards her. She was able to finally get out of the way totally and run into the mall. Lang jumped out of his car, chased after her, and shouted that he was going to kill her and that he was doing it for his country. Mall security seized and subdued Lang, who would be charged for reckless endangerment, which carries a heavier penalty if motivated by hate, thankfully. This event was horrifying, obviously. I mean...
Pretty terrible stuff.
Just drove your car towards a woman.
Because, this is well before Charlottesville.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2001. Literally the day after 9/11, this shit happened so quick. They were like, okay, well, license to kill Muslims because it's for the good of our country, right? Yeah, I mean...
That's what they say.
Faiza was lucky. She survived, right? 4 people were murdered And those murders were directly, and this is just the ones that we have in court that were settled, right?
Right.
4 murders attributed directly to backlash against 9/11. Fucking crazy.
4 too many.
Yeah, absolutely. And did you want to share a personal story that relates to this?
Yeah, I did have a personal story. We're talking about Muslim people being discriminated. But earlier you alluded to people who weren't even Muslim being discriminated against. Again, my brother in studio here today, he can attest to this. We have a cousin who is Puerto Rican, much like we are.
Oh no.
He is Puerto Rican. His mother is Italian. She is our aunt by blood, father by marriage. So he's a darker Puerto Rican than we are. He is a Puerto Rican with brown skin. If you didn't know any better, you'd say he might be Indian, right?
Okay.
And the neighborhood we grew up in, they would see our cousin, again, much darker than we are, and they would refer to him as Ali Baba, a Puerto Rican man.
Jesus Christ.
True story. Our Puerto Rican Italian cousin was called Ali Baba. I don't necessarily think in hate, but I think you're just like, your town school hooligans,
Oh yeah.
Because he was also effeminate at the time, later came out as homosexual. So it was like a way to attack him without just like throwing out a hard F slur in public,
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy to say this, but it's possible that the Muslim lines were more acceptable than the anti-gay lines,
Yeah, I actually see what
in
you
that
mean.
climate.
And, yeah, like it isn't to say that like everybody just started hating Muslims because of 9/11, but it gave people who already had a suspicion, or maybe or people who are just more inclined to not like the
Or
other.
people who just didn't know better and were just trying to have some fun with it. That a situation they didn't fully understand.
I mean, but there also was a huge rise of fear of the Xeno. I mean, people
for sure.
people didn't really like the other.
But I think especially people our age couldn't fully grasp, or let alone even have other than like what their parents might have believed, a
Right.
true understanding for themselves. They were
That's
just
fair.
kind of going off, their environment, what they're told, et cetera, et cetera.
On that note, I have my own personal story.
Do you?
Oh yeah, I do. This is a rough one. This is me getting personal with you all on podcast number 1. So in the immediate aftermath of 9/11, I went to this new school. Not because of it, but it just happened to be that way.
Were you also displaced?
No, I was not. I'm not going to say that. But yeah, not because of it. That'd be weird. But I did go to this new school, different elementary school for 2nd grade. And it was always like under construction, and it was just like way shittier than the one I had come from, even though it was like in the same district. So it felt like it felt like I was in a different world. It probably did seem a little bombed out.
Pun intended?
Perhaps.
Okay.
So we had this really ridiculous principal who just found it necessary to come into breakfast every single day, hop up on one of the tables, and then yell at us about what was going on in the Middle East, be it what was happening in Afghanistan or what was brewing to happen in Iraq.
To a bunch of 2nd graders, right?
To a bunch of 2nd grade. Oh, I mean, I was 2nd grade, but you got your kindergartners, your first graders over there. One of them's falling asleep, drowning in his Cheerios. He's startled awake by the news of Afghanistan. He yelled at him by his principal, who is standing above him. So just a fun time overall. And I think that's sort of helped the whole thing seem weird and odd in the sense of change that I felt after 9/11, because I definitely perceive it. I don't think it's like a co-opted memory that I look back on. I really feel that was a real thing that I felt was after 9/11, things did feel different, didn't they for you?
That was like the end of childhood innocence in a sense.
Yeah. There was a weight on you afterwards.
Yeah, there was
a weight on everybody.
There's a still in the air, like that futuristic millennium type vibe just totally dissipated.
Mm-hmm.
Like, gone were like the silver metallic suits of the Backstreet Boys and Missy Elliott. Like none of that shit was around anymore.
It was all just Green Day and
yeah, we were on this huge trajectory, and then it just took a hard plummet. And then, yeah, like you said, we had...
do you recall the heightened state of awareness?
Yeah, yeah. The warnings,
It
warning levels.
It would change from different colors to let you know how afraid of a terrorist attack you should be.
We're at a code yellow today.
Oh, no.
We might get to a code orange. We'll see.
Bring your umbrellas. There might be a chance of a 9/11.
Tomorrow we're planning on a red, but don't hold your breath.
That's just us trying to feel like we have control over a situation we had no control in.
Yeah,
that's all that was.
And I think that's to use that same phrase. I think that's what a lot of people were doing at that time. From adults in
every way. Yeah, in every way.
In Congress to the people in the news media to even us ourselves.
I mean, not to fucking rationalize it. That's probably what Adam fucking Lang thought he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean,
we do the best we can.
So
you would think everyone's actively doing their best anyway. You'd hope so.
So I was in this bombed out and depleted elementary school with like bulldozers constantly running so loud we couldn't even hear each other and no bathrooms and stuff. And then of course we had Captain America coming in and yelling at us about the evils of the Taliban and the Afghans and the Iraqis. In the midst of all of this, you were talking about the word terrorist, which boy was that a buzzword back around first, second grade. I mean, it's still a buzzword, isn't it? But that was the inception of it for just really being something that you could just say all the time. And being second graders, not to diminish it, we had there was a young lad in our school. His name was Muhammad. Just a fantastic kid. I knew him all the way through high school. Basically graduated with him. One of the nicest people. Never had any ill will towards him. He was a fantastic guy.
Sounds like a wonderful individual.
He let me borrow paper in one of my math classes one time because not even one time, like the whole year I just never had paper. But who could I rely on? Muhammad. He was like right there with it.
Sounds like a very stand-up guy.
He had me back in Miss Bashong's math class. But
shout out Miss Bashong.
So yeah, this is horrific. But because he was Muslim and the word terrorist was floating around all the time, I thought I'd be funny and just call this kid terrorist. And I did it all the time. All the time. Like multiple times a day. I'd just be like, haha, you're a terrorist. I'd even make like little explosion sounds.
For the record, I'm shaking my head.
He is. Which is very fair. It's well deserved. And I know that it's awful, for the record. I'm well aware that it's awful. I hate myself for it.
Is this podcast just a ruse to repent?
Yes. Muhammad, if you're listening, I am sorry. I know I told you that a couple of times because obviously we went to high school together and I apologized for this down the road. But yeah, I am sorry. It was awful of me. But I can look back on it and say that I've grown and that now I can look back and shudder at what an awful little piece of shit I was.
And Muhammad, if you're out there, you're always welcome on the podcast.
Please. Oh my God, please. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Well, what a reunion. That'd be great. That'd be
fantastic. I'd love to see that.
Man, that'd be great. So that one sort of like when we started talking about doing a pod on this, that sort of lingered in my mind and sort of really came crashing back. And made me sort of like, if there was anything I could pinpoint, it's like that's something I can look at and go, yep, that was something I did.
Yeah.
That was something that I had control over, that I did, that was just because it was a thing I could do. And I didn't feel any wrong saying it. That's the horrible thing. Until he finally told me. Like one day he was eventually just like, look, you can knock it off calling me that. I don't really like that.
If it makes you feel better, I didn't know Alibaba was like I'm not sure what he was exactly, but it was like a famous pirate or something like that.
Something like that.
I didn't realize that was an actual thing till like I started listening to the Beastie Boys and whatnot. But then like, because we were in the South, I just thought they were like mispronouncing the words Bubba to my cousin, so we started calling my cousin Bubba.
From that, you just turned it into a brand new thing.
Yeah.
How about that?
Mm-hmm.
So, just lots of. I think 9/11 also had one thing that I kind of picked up on when I set out to kind of like write this a little bit, just to kind of get my thoughts together on how I think the 9/11 trickled down into hatred against Muslims. I think it's just like you look at like the War on Terror and how it just impacted the Muslim world so disastrously. You look at the growth of Big Brother, as you alluded to, with the Patriot Act. And, I mean, while that affects everybody, I mean, you could tap anybody's phone, Muslims just became the priority target, day in, day out, profiling, as you alluded to. As if that was
the reason they passed that bill.
There's so many jokes. I don't know if you remember the Blue Collar Comedy Tour.
How could I forget?
God damn it. I remember them.
You might be a redneck if.
Yeah, that's the people. There's so
tell you what.
God damn it. There's so many jokes. You motherfucker. There are so many jokes.
They call me Tater Salad. I'm good.
You're such a piece of shit. There's so many jokes about Muslims and airports in those 3 fucking comedy shows. Like, 3 stand-up specials, and there are so many jokes about Muslims and airports. And I laughed at them, too.
What about the Ahmed, the dead terrorist?
Fucking God.
I know. How did we let that happen?
I don't even laugh at that.
How did we let that happen? I guess it was like the sweet spot
one.
where like people had like lessened up on that stuff, but then it was like still relevant, but then they were just like, oh, it's a puppet, who gives a shit?
I get it. Had to be because it was a puppet.
It had to be. There's no way you could just
if you just got up there and started telling those, I mean, well, that's what the fucking blue collar comedy people did. They didn't have a puppet. They just got up there and said the jokes. Like,
I'd really have to compare the puppet and the blue collar guys to really
side by side.
Yeah.
Oh, there's some homework for us to do.
Yeah.
So future pod, stay tuned, gang.
Look into that.
You'll have to look into that one.
Don't worry, we'll watch it for you.
Yeah. So you have the growth of Big Brother, the War on Terror, which just obliterated the Middle East, and then you have this faux nationalism, like you gotta buy your flag to be an American.
Yeah, Old Navy, get your t-shirt.
Get your flag t-shirt, crank your Alan Jackson, just like the t-shirtification of patriotism.
USA, even though that song is like
that song is so good, and it's so good because it's not pro-American.
They even like took a bunch of songs off the radios, like Foo Fighters Learn to Fly. You couldn't play that.
The Dixie Chicks. That's stupid. Like
0 Rage Against the Machine songs. It's like I can't have those guys on there.
The Dixie Chicks said, "We're sorry, we're ashamed that the president is from Texas." While they were in London, and people were like, "Well, they shouldn't have said that in London." And so, like, they were getting so if they would have said that here, it would have been fine. And
yeah, they said it in Texas, they would have been trampled.
Right, that's why they said it in London. But God, like the Dixie people, they got like a bulldozer to crush a bunch of Dixie Chick records symbolically. Tell me that someone find me the definition of cult, please. Yeah. Oh my God!
Well, I saw a bunch
outrage cult, man.
I saw a bunch of fat chicks destroying scales.
Fuck.
A lot of symbolism there.
Maybe they were wrong. Maybe they were wrong. The scales could have been wrong. The Dixie Chicks, never wrong. So you can take that one to the bank.
I will take your word for
I
that.
I am a big fan. That is not a joke. That is not a joke. That's not for this set. I'm a huge fan.
If they sound anything like Shania Twain, I can't get
no.
into it.
Like so they have a bunch of hokey country songs that are dumb.
I mean, they're called the Dixie Chicks.
They're also now just called the Chicks.
I was gonna say
They're also now just called the Chicks.
Are they really just like are they no way they're keeping that moniker.
They are just called the Chicks.
Okay.
They do have some very good songs that are just great. Like Messages, just great. I'll have to check them out sometime. Earl's Gotta Die. I don't know why people make fun of them for that song. That song is about 2 best friends who one of them gets abused and put in the hospital by her abusive spouse. So her best friend comes and is like, guess what? We're going to go fucking clack on your husband. And then they do. And then they drive off into the fucking sunset. That song is incredible.
That's like every country song ever, though.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't.
Carrie Underwood, like when she's like,
that's after. That's fucking after. That's not the point. Is who did it first? Is the fucking Dixie Chicks.
I'll have to do my country research, but I'm pretty sure throughout country history there has been, "Don't you put your hands on my girl? I'm gonna beat you up."
Yeah, but from strong women,
my dogs did.
Men defending women. Hang on, this is a total different This is a total different podcast now.
Fair enough.
But we are going to have a podcast on the Dixie Chicks, I'm sure now.
Yeah, we'll have to get some music on here at some point.
It was coming from women. right?
course.
Not coming from men trying to defend women, which is the chauvinistic thing that people think you have to do. No, women are capable.
Isn't it?
Women are
Very
capable.
capable. I'm not rescuing a broad from some
Don't-
situation.
What a poor time to use broads. I don't know if there's a good time, but what an
Maybe.
absolutely poor time, Christian.
It's definitely a lesser of
What are we doing here?
many words I could refer to as chicks. I'm just trying to use my thesaurus here, man. I could have said lasses, ladies.
Yeah, that's a little bit better. I mean, ladies is weird. What ladies depends on how you say it. Anyway, I digress.
Yes,
I
we
digress. We digress. Time to get back on track. Swerve back on track. Yes. The T-shirtification of nationalism and patriotism. It was just it was a ripe environment for Muslims to get a whole lot of shit, and boy did they. And I think the point of this, what we're really trying to say in this cacophony of words, is we think that should have been highlighted. And so that's
not
what
a lot
we're
of
trying
people
to do.
did that. Mostly it's just recapping 9/11, the stuff you heard over the past 20 years that no one really wants to dive into.
Right. There was some after effects that I think we are still trying to grapple with, and I'm glad that we had some small chance to do
some discourse.
Yeah, some discourse. We're gonna have we had a conversation about it anyway, and we did a little bit.
Yep.
It's personal.
I would say so.
It's fantastic.
Don't call anybody a terrorist or Alibaba.
We're not gonna do that.
None of
We're
that.
better, and we have grown.
The chicks have evolved.
And so have we.
I'm still calling women broads, but I'm working on it.
He's working on it.
I'm working on it.
He's working on it.
I've gotten better. They used to be just like the full-on B word, so it's it's a full step down. Maybe I'll call them women one day. We'll see. Stay tuned to the podcast.
I swear he is better than this in real life. I swear.
We'll find out when we get to our bonus questions.
Okay, so speaking of bonus questions,
okay, do you want to briefly go over the first two, or just want to go for the second one? Because I feel like the first two are really good. We can kind of cover those real quick.
wait, the first two. How many are we doing?
I got two.
I thought we were just doing one, like last time.
Okay, I got one.
We're doing one.
You do yours first. You do yours first.
Mine's always dumb.
Mine's extremely thought-provoking.
Okay. If you could take part in any historical moment, what would it be and why?
I'd burn that French bitch at the stake.
Which, fucking Joan of Arc?
Hell yeah.
You came out swinging for Joan of Arc. What the fuck did she do to you? Jesus Christ, Christian.
It's just like, how many times do you get to just burn somebody to death in historical faction? Like, I don't want to be the guy to burn, like, that Buddhist guy who set himself ablaze on the Rage Against the Machine album cover. Like, I don't want to be him.
Well, he was also in Vietnam.
Yeah. We'll get into that at some point. That's the first one that comes to mind. Just like, if someone like paints that picture and I'm just like, bleh, just look with the fucking Molotov cocktail. Just
really. So it's like nothing personal against Joan of Arc. You can just think of a time where you got to burn a woman and chose her.
Yeah, why not?
So
Why not?
You just want to burn abroad? Is that something?
Yeah, burn abroad.
there's your sound bite.
B-A-B.
God, people are gonna hate this podcast.
This is the first one that came to mind. I could have said
fair.
the first sufferer. I could have said, right in the cockpit of Flight 93, maybe change directions or something like that. But I kept things real.
Kept it real.
What would be your historical moment?
My historical moment. I think man, I don't.
Got you thinking now, don't I?
I mean, you do. Like, I definitely should have. Like,
who else could I burn?
I don't necessarily want to burn anyone.
You could.
Netanyahu. I'd burn Netanyahu alive. That'd be fun. My historical moment. See, I have things that I would like to witness, but not necessarily be a part of.
Wasn't that the question? You got to be a part of it.
Yeah, I did say if you could take part in any historical moment.
You could hold those nails that went into Jesus' feet.
That's not what I'm wanting to do. No, I think
you could have been like the guy who was, like cheering on Patrick Henry from afar.
No, probably not. I think honestly, I would like to take part in the American Revolution.
American Revolution.
Yeah, because I consider myself a patriot.
So just like a soldier on the front lines kind of thing.
Yeah, I would. I mean,
No special, like, you wouldn't be like the drummer boy or anything like that?
I mean, no, I don't want to be a fucking drummer boy. Give me a musket. What the fuck are we doing here?
All right.
I understand the importance of the drummer boy. He's got a good job to do. But I would want to...
Isn't that crazy? We would just roll into battle making fucking noise.
Well, I mean, we'll get into it one day. There's a whole reason for it.
I get the concept.
Yeah.
And there was more, like, honor back in battles those days. You know, like, don't shoot the general. And then someone did that shit one day and like, all right, all bets are off.
That shit was us.
Yeah.
That's motherfuckers that did it.
But
yeah, I mean, I just kind of like, so I consider myself an American, and I want to, we talk about defending the values of the revolution and shit like that. I talk about it, and I think I do it in my own way. Probably not. People tell me all the time I don't do it in an American way, but fuck them. I do it in my own fucking American way.
Yeah, what is the American way?
Yeah,
anyway.
The American way is your way, and if you think I'm anti-American, well, I probably think you're anti-American, so fuck off.
Possibly.
But yeah, so American Revolution, I would want to see what it was all about.
Good stuff, good stuff. All right, my question
Please.
is, what is the worst thing you can imagine?
That your Tim Burton question? Does that count? That was the worst thing I ever heard.
Tim Burton is a question that you can just ask anybody. Just, you know.
You should just throw it out.
Tim Burton?
No, I'm not. Hang on. I take that back. Like, that question was thought-provoking in that it provoked a thought. Mm-hmm. It was a fun question. It was a fun question. No, that's not my answer. My answer would be, what is the worst thing I can imagine? The end of history.
The end of history. So the end of recording history then.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, so no pens, no internet, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. I think
just absolute loss of
humanity's doomed at that point.
Yeah, that might be. It's pretty bad. I didn't think of that. But I thought of something that could end history.
What's that? What do you got?
So the worst thing I could possibly imagine is just imagine like an army of like
I can.
Terminator-esque cyborgs, right? But they're not just killing machines. They're pedophiles. So not only are they going to like gun down your entire like society, they're going to diddle your kids. And then they're going to do that.
I apologize to this podcast.
So that's like the worst thing I could probably imagine.
I mean, that is terrible.
Pedophile Terminators, basically.
Pedophile Terminators.
So a bunch of like Arnold, you know.
That's fair. I mean, you did say the worst thing you can imagine. That's a fair thing.
The end of civilization and pedophiles. Like, what's worse than that?
I don't know why it's funny. I don't know why I'm laughing. I think I have a problem, but
it's funny because it's not. It's absolutely terrible.
Yeah, no. Like the concept is horrifying.
Potentially worse than 9/11 in theory.
I mean, I love you just put
debatable.
You can put in theory at the end of anything.
It's up for debate.
Oh man.
Tim Burton was worse than 9/11.
The assassination.
In theory.
The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand definitely led to the creation of hentai. In theory.
It did.
It actually did. I subscribe to that theory. I totally subscribe
to that theory. There's a lot of weird shit that went down that caused like Japan to be like, oh, we're actually good. We blur our porn. And then it's like that's like fuck. We can't show dicks. What are we gonna do? Tentacles? Right on, buddy.
Rape of Nanking? What do you mean? We can't rape? Our genitals are blurry.
All right, so that was bonus questions. That's basically just kind of like a little end segment to kind of elevate the mood from a
just have fun. That was very heavy
topic. If I can give one more shout out,
please,
before we close up shop. It is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. September.
Oh, I'm glad you brought. Yes, there's something else I want to bring up to you. Cool. You do this one. I got another one.
So a couple charities that you may be familiar with. One of them is St. Jude. They help tons and tons of children. If I'm speaking correctly, they don't charge the people anything. Like totally, like you get your treatments, medications, all that stuff, like on the house. Because like it's cancer's fucked up in itself. When you have kids on cancer, man, that might be the worst thing, but I didn't imagine that, so that's an actual fact.
Yeah. I had a friend back in high school who I went to like elementary. First met her at that crazy bombed out high school or school that I went to, not high school, and went through like second grade all the way through, and then she passed and left us in like sophomore year, junior year, maybe.
That's crazy.
Terrible.
Because you see them, they're wearing the wigs and stuff. And
and she shaved her head.
So cool.
And people shaved her head for her, and she had so much support. And it was literally just we weren't best buds. I'm not going to pretend that we were, but I was rooting for her, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, like school spirit, all that. I was definitely rooting for her. It was terrible, and I thought she was good. And then one day it's just she passed. Yeah,
I might be mixing up stories, but I think the teenager in my high school had cancer. I want to say she laid down the train tracks. I could be mixing up stories, but I'm pretty sure this is the same person, unfortunately. But the main charity I wanted to mention today was St. Baldrick's. They have raised so much money over the past two plus decades for childhood cancer and research. They basically started out by as a token of solidarity, shaving their head, raise money, and since then they've raised like $30 million, I think just last year, something like that. So I had a coworker of mine whose granddaughter died of childhood cancer. Terrible stuff. So that was pretty important to me to really mention that, especially being Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Yeah. So definitely look into those charities, St. Baldrick's as well as St. Jude's. Donate what you can. They do nothing but good work. And I think that's about it for the first Obtuse podcast.
Yeah, I think I did want to just throw out one thing real quick. I wanted to just throw out, because I meant to say it, that another big casualty we can talk about is the fact that a whole lot of veterans from these stupid wars that came from 9/11, a whole lot of them, somewhere around 35,000 just from the War on Terror, have taken their own lives, and that is a national failure. That's a national failure.
Wounded Warriors Project.
Yeah, Wounded Warriors Project. I think there's some other good ones. Definitely look into them.
Connor's Cure, as far as childhood cancer as well. Just want to put that out there.
What's that? Oh, okay.
Connor's Cure. Another.
Thank you. But yeah, I just want to highlight that because there are definitely some things that could be done to help our veterans, and the fact that we have veterans taking their own lives, national failure. What are we doing?
Yeah.
We gotta help.
Better.
We gotta help. So,
and we're trying to be a part of that better. So, I think it's been a good podcast.
I think it's been very good.
Great, even, I'd say. Fantastic.
Wow. Oh my.
Frank West. Fantastic.
You daring son of a bitch.
Oh yeah, and the next one's gonna be even better.
It's gonna be so good. What are we gonna be talking about? Do you know?
Well, unfortunately, our next guest.
Our guest did cancel today. We did have another one lined up, and the guest canceled. So
yeah, so maybe we'll just kind of freeball it, but
we'll figure something out.
In the future, at some point, you'll be hearing about psychic phenomenon.
Okay, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds
so look
great.
forward to that.
I cannot wait for that.
Some stuff in later in the month in October as well. We're gonna have some fun, holidays and whatnot. It's coming up. Talk about the winter and the seas changing and whatnot.
And eyes on China, please, everyone.
We'll
keep up with that one. Let's see if we're still here. We may not even have a chance to do a podcast.
We may not. If this never gets recorded, uploaded, what happened.
You know what happened.
Just total societal collapse.
Fucking chaos.
And on that note, I think we'll
on that beautiful shining note,
for a wonderful tomorrow and a better future. And we will see you on the next Obtuse podcast.
See you later, guys. I'll just try to breathe better.